We would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet to share these conversations on the Vegan Compass podcast.
We extend our respect to elders past and present, as well as any of our listeners and guests. Hello and welcome to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change. We are your hosts, Ric Allport and Mackenzie Cross.
From wherever you're listening, please be sure to like and subscribe to support this podcast. Now to the episode.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Vegan Compass podcast. We're so excited to have you with us again for another episode.
And I'm Ric Allport, and we have Mackenzie Cross just there. And we are very happy to have with us today the President of the Animal Justice Party and also the Animal Justice Foundation, Mr. Bruce Poon. Welcome, Bruce.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
So, Bruce, our first question, who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? Well, I'm just a guy in Melbourne who, of late, what I've done a lot of is helping the Animal Justice Party and the Animal Justice Foundation. But I've been involved with the movement for 35 years or so, and I've done a lot of different kinds of activism, and been for that length of time, do what I can to try and help animals systematically.
So have you been vegan that entire time?
I went vegetarian at about 21, and I was vegetarian for 7 years, and it's sort of a regret, I guess, at this point. And then I read a book by Dr. Michael Clapper called something like Vegan Nutrition, Pure and Simple. It's a big green book. It's certainly not published anymore, but it laid out all of the reasons for veganism, for the animals, for health, for the environment, and laid out really basic things that I just kicked myself for not knowing. And I read it till 3 a.m, and I went vegan immediately.
Wow.
And I cleaned out my fridge in the morning and said, okay, well, that's it. I'll just be vegan from now on. And so certainly don't regret it. It was a great decision, and I've been vegan for over 30 years now.
Lo and behold, you're still alive. It's quite amazing. Yeah,
amazing.
You must be a miracle.
All right, so can you tell us a little bit about when and how you got involved with the Animal Justice Party?
Sure. I have to pay tribute to the Party for the Animals in the Netherlands. They were the first big successful animal party in the world. And they formed, and I don't think anybody noticed. I don't think I noticed. But the news came through a few years later that they'd won representation in the Dutch Parliament. And I think that's what actually got everybody thinking, okay, well, maybe this can work. So, pay tribute to pioneers because they prove something that can work. And I actually got together with some of my friends in the movement, and we started writing charters and so on for a political party to represent animals. And we did a bit of that over a couple of months. And then we saw in somewhere, something to do with the movement, that the Animal Justice Party has been formed.
Wow.
And so we thought, oh dear, wow, maybe we don't need to form a party, and maybe it already exists.
So how many years ago was that starting to come together?
This was 2011, I think, that I was thinking about it. And that's when I found out that the Animal Justice Party exists. And it had existed since 2009, at least on paper. It had been registered and, created. But not a lot of news had come out from it. Certainly hadn't stood in any elections or anything like that. So we actually got together. We spoke to the founding president, Steve Garlick, who's a terrific fellow who was the president for a number of years at the start of the party and did a great job to set it up. And but, dealing with people, so not everybody who was originally involved with me wanted to join the Animal Justice Party. And a lot of them didn't. They just said, no, not interested. But that's what I did. I joined the Animal Justice Party and got really as involved as I possibly could be, as quickly as I could be, and was very soon, on the sort of organising committee of the Animal Justice Party and trying to set up something in Victoria where I live. So I went to World Vegan Day, a wonderful institution that we need back. And it was in Princes Park here in Carlton. And I set up my own stall. I put up a sign for the Animal Justice Party, and I basically just spoke to everybody that went past saying, okay, we're setting up a political party for animals. You should join right now. And I think I got 87 members on that first day. And then we called a meeting, and there was a handful of people who were already members of the Animal Justice Party. And then we had a meeting of all of those people in South Bank and formed a committee to take the party forward in Victoria. So that was the start of it in Victoria. And of course, the party was a very small group of people sitting together in a room thinking, okay, great, we've started a political party. What do we do about that? How does it work? We had a lot of lessons to learn.
And I think probably still a lot more to learn.
Yeah, for sure.
That's very interesting because both myself and Ric have been involved with the Animal Justice Party, but in the later, more recent years, I guess. So I find it very interesting to hear about how it started and what was happening in those earlier days. So can you kind of explain to us why you personally were drawn to the political system as a way to advocate for animals? And I guess why do you think the Australian political system is a great avenue where we can achieve change for animals?
Yeah, well, I was doing activism of various kinds, and you can imagine, things on the street, shouting at people with a megaphone, doing written submissions, doing covert things, but I was sick of losing. I was just sick of being ineffective and just not seeing a way through where we could make the kind of incremental changes that we wanted to see for our movement to succeed. And it seemed like very often, you would lose when it got political. You'd lose when it got to the parliament or to a politician having to make a decision. We had no way of influencing them. Well, no easy way of influencing them. And so we just seemed quite powerless often. And so that was the attraction. Nobody wants to get involved in politics. Politics is awful, but politics is where the decisions are made. And so, now I'm part of a party with thousands of people who still don't like politics much, but we all like animals. And we do as much politics as we have to try and help them. So I was attracted to a new way of doing activism that was potentially, I definitely had a theory of change involving politics, that I could see a way where we could use our political leverage to get things done. And that's why I pursued it. That's why I got involved with the Animal Justice Party. And gradually we proved out those theories about how it could be done. So
one of the criticisms that, we've all heard about the Animal Justice Party is, you're just a single issue party, that's all you care about is animals. What is a way to, or how do you feel about that, and how do we counteract that sort of argument?
It's a real challenge for the party to make sure that we are relevant to a large number of voters and, citizens of Australia. And sometimes we don't always present our information in the right way to make ourselves relevant to people, or for people to understand why it's relevant to them. We do have a perspective that animals, we're all animals obviously, but that non-human animals have a hard time and we could do better. But when you've been involved with this movement as long as I have, you understand that injustice, a threat to an injustice like that is a threat to justice everywhere. And the way we treat animals turns out has got an enormous impact on the way we treat people, the way we treat the planet, the way we tackle climate change. And so the party is interested in animals, people, and planet, and we often take the perspective of looking at it from the point of view of how animals are treated. But we will increasingly try and explain to people why we're relevant to their everyday life. This next election that we're coming up to is about, cost of living in many people's minds. And what does cost of living means? It means that the way the economy is set up in Australia is really unbalanced. We've got great inequity in society. We've got huge sections of society that are not really being looked after in a fair way. And obviously animals are part of that, and so are a lot of people. And we'll be talking about animal issues and other issues that can try and redress this balance. Ultimately, the big parties have got problems because they're tied to donors, they're tied to big sectoral interests. They don't like to lose any votes from, by being campaigned against by the moneyed classes and the big industries. And so it is up to minor parties and independents to bring a bit of discipline and a bit of integrity into politics and try and change things.
Okay, that's probably the best description I've ever had of that, because I've always wondered how best to describe the Animal Justice Party as not being a single issue party. So no, that's really cool.
Yeah, that was very well-rounded. I remember when I was running as a candidate, people would often ask that question, and I would kind of make the link between, I found the easiest link was domestic and family violence, for example, where perpetrators often perpetuate violence against the family companion animals before people. So that can be a good indicator of violence towards people. And obviously there's a lot of issues in our government and legal system at the moment to help people who are experiencing domestic and family violence to flee with their animals. But yeah, I really liked your answer.
Yeah, I mean, if we can make it easier for people to house animals when somebody does need to flee a domestic violence situation, that means they do. And they take their animal. It's good for the animal, but it's also good for them because they don't stay in a bad situation, which can lead to bad results. Similarly, if people are homeless or struggling with their mortgage, we need to talk about that, because they certainly can't look after their animals if they can't look after themselves. We need people to be looked after, and we need people to be able to find accommodation and so on. So, every party is challenged by dealing with, what ails people, and we're no different.
So what do you think some of the biggest the biggest accomplishments of the Animal Justice Party have been to date?
We've got many things that we've got done, and, it started with starting to win campaigns. I wouldn't be here if along the way we hadn't been winning change for animals. But as early as 2014, we started using our political leverage to ask for change, to negotiate for change, and we found a way to make change where laws were being changed to help animals. And that's only continued, 10 times that amount once we started to win MPs.
Mm.
We've won MPs in New South Wales, we've won MPs in Victoria, and we're very hopeful of winning MPs in other states across Australia and federally. And this is possible in the Australian political system because we have a preferential voting system. People are not discouraged from voting. It's not a two-party system where, you can't vote for a smaller party or it's a wasted vote. It's never a wasted vote. Very often people vote for us knowing that, well, maybe we won't win, but their preferences will go to the major party that they prefer. And that is a workable, it's not the perfect, political system, but it's a workable system that allows us to argue that we should have people's votes, to occasionally win representations at local level, at state level and national level. And that political leverage, once we get in, is what we use to get things done.
Well, I think it was something that when I was running in Queensland, people would come up and say, oh, we're planning to put you second on the ballot paper. And it's like, well, yeah, that's really not actually going to work. If you put us first, but then put your next preference as whoever you want in, then at least then you're actually telling that person who does get in that your first preference was for the animals, and you better start listening to them.
That's much more valuable for us normally, absolutely. If somebody's going to vote for, in a lower house seat for Labor or Liberal, if they're going to vote for Labor, let's say, much better to put AJP first and Labor second. They will still get the vote. We won't win the seat, but it's just as valuable to the Labor Party as putting them at one. But it's also very valuable to us and sends a message to them that animals are important. And they do respond to that message. We often use that leverage to get them to think about animal issues and look at their policy and see what can be done. A lot of the things that we've achieved are kind of obvious. They're low-hanging fruit, but we've done them, and we're happy to take low-hanging fruit at the start until we get further along and find some other fruit. In New South Wales, Emma caused the Parliament to ban crush and bestiality videos. Well, why was it not always illegal? Of
exactly.
Course, but there's no politician wants to argue, oh no, they should be legal. But it took a focus on animals to actually get that law through, and a bit of our political leverage and a bit of argument, and we got it through. We've got millions and millions of dollars devoted to animal rescue and animal welfare and various NGOs that are out there looking after animals. We argue that wildlife in Australia is our responsibility. They're often disadvantaged by us taking their land or interfering with them, and so we have some responsibility for them as well when they come to harm, especially through human action. So, we're gradually arguing these cases. We take the low-hanging fruit. We often take the easy-to-win cases, but sometimes we win the hard ones as well. We've argued long and hard to end the live export of animals, of all animals, to all countries in all seasons. And we don't have that yet, but we are seeing movement on the export of sheep to anywhere. And it's great to see this kind of movement.
What do you think some of the toughest challenges have been and that face a minor party? So being, of course, AJP is a minor party. As a minor party, what are the toughest challenges?
Well, it's a good question. We touched on one before. It's a major challenge for a minor party to always find that you're getting 1 or 2% of the vote, not 10% of the vote, which you could do a lot more with. And people, take a long time to even know that you exist. It still happens at every election when I'm handing out, cards for people, how to vote cards. So they say, oh, Animal Justice Party, I've never heard of you. It's like, how can that be when you vote in every election and we're at every election? But we're still new compared to some of the older parties, and we have to get our name out there. We have to get our message out there. It's not easy. We don't have the big money that the others have. We don't have the free publicity that they have every day with the media covering them and taking them seriously. So, we've definitely got challenges there. We've got challenges to stay organised. We've got 7,500 members now, and quite a few of them volunteer for the party. But it's a constant, day-to-day challenge to keep the party organised, keep everybody moving in the same direction, to have the board and the MPs all working together to achieve things. But that's the everyday challenge of being a part of a political party, and we kind of love it. Of course, the big crisis, the big challenge is the way animals are treated, and every day we're reminded of that by being involved, and we do everything we can every day to try and make a change. It won't happen, it won't happen overnight. There's no point in putting up a bill in the federal parliament for universal veganism. But gradually we will change the law to get rid of the most egregious treatment of animals, and part of that will be moving, the journey for people to understand that we can do that without costing anybody anything. It'll gradually make the environment better, people's conditions better, as well as helping animals.
Well, I do hope that I'm actually alive when the bill for we need to be all vegan goes up for debate and gets won.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
I thought it would be nice to sort of wrap up everything you just said with maybe some ways that people can get involved and support the Animal Justice Party. You mentioned the importance of handing out how to vote cards because obviously people still haven't heard about the party. So what does that involve for people, and what other ways can they get involved?
Yeah, the best way is to go to our website, animaljusticeparty.org.au, and perhaps join the party, or at least you'll be able to see there what we're doing and what's going on soon. If you join the party, there's any number of things that you can do to help the party. There are regional groups around the country that campaign locally and work on politics locally. There are state administrations, there are state volunteers, there's a national administration and national volunteers, there's a board of directors. So there's any number of things going on in the party, and it's a case of finding something that you're attracted to, something you can campaign on, something you can work on, depending on what your skills are. Obviously, we'd love people to support us in elections, to vote for us. Yes, you can volunteer through our website to hand out how to vote cards and support us at election without becoming a member. But yeah, I would, if you find yourself with a little bit of time and wanting to make a change for animals that is effective, you could do worse than trying to work with the Animal Justice Party.
Very cool.
Awesome. And as Ric and I have both been involved with the Animal Justice Party before, we can both, I guess, what's the word? Encourage people to get involved.
And also reiterate the words that Bruce has just said, because trying to get the people moved, get that groundswell of people has always been a bit of a difficult task. So getting people involved is a challenge, but for anybody who is listening or watching, get in, do it. It's really worthwhile.
And I think
it's a case of trying to be effective. And we just ran in a local election here, and it's a strange kind of activism to run in an election because it involves talking to people, it involves filling out some paperwork. It's not the normal kind of activism that we do, but it turns out you just get a lot done because suddenly you've got a negotiating position where people have to listen to you and want your preferences, and they therefore decide they want to help animals. So,
well, I think also being on the polling booth and handing out flyers is a form of outreach, because it's amazing how many people come up to you and say, oh, what is this about? And, what do you stand for? So you actually have a chance to have a bit of a conversation with some of the people, which is very valuable.
Yeah.
You don't always change their mind, but at least you've been able to plant a seed.
Yeah.
Definitely. I wanted to just touch on something that Bruce said as well about, you don't necessarily love politics, but you've identified this as a great way to achieve change for animals. And that was definitely something that I could relate to when I ran as a candidate for the Animal Justice Party. The thought of getting elected into Parliament terrified me, but I could see that this was such a great way to advocate for animals. And as you said, you have that leverage against the other parties to inspire them to take animal issues more seriously. So I think don't be discouraged if you are considering running as a candidate, but it also terrifies you. Give it a shot anyway.
Absolutely. Now, Bruce, as well as being president of the Animal Justice Party, you're also president of the Animal Justice Foundation. So, in your words, what is the Animal Justice Foundation?
Well, I mean, the Animal Justice Foundation, I'll start with the reasoning about why I'm involved with the Animal Justice Foundation. It's the same thing, looking at effectiveness and how can we make change. Very often in the Animal Justice Party and with our other NGOs that I've been involved with, you're fighting against great power. Incumbent industries and companies that have got tremendous amount of money and resources and political sway. And very often we found, we could do some good work there, or we could do some good politics there if we had a bit of money, but we don't. So ultimately, money is another kind of power. And as well as the animal movement that we're all part of having the best arguments, which it does, it also needs organization, it needs money. And I thought, what can I do to change that? So, I know, I guess, a layman's amount of things about money, but I know that if compound interest is a powerful thing, and that if you've got some money and you invest it over time, it can become even more money. So I don't have that much money, but maybe collectively we as a movement do have a lot of money. And the time when some people really don't need their money and are prepared to donate it is after they're dead. So the Animal Justice Foundation in particular focuses on getting pledges from people to support the movement, to support the Animal Justice Foundation with bequests and so on that they no longer need. And we promise to invest that money in ethical shares, stocks and shares, to grow the amount of money that the movement has. And there's no limit to how much money I want the movement to have. We're fighting against billionaires and more. We should have $1 billion as well.
Well, I just want to clarify here, anyone who's listening or watching, we don't really want you to die. We want you to plan for the future for the animals.
We don't want people to die. If people want to try and not die, good for you. Go for it. But it's sort of a reality that most of us, historically at least, have decided to do that. And, if we pooled our money, if we pooled our donations and bequests and so on, we could get millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars or however far you want to go together and start investing it. And then, we start to build money power for the movement. We start to be able to invest in really good new ideas that nobody else is prepared to put money into. And partly that's the idea of the Animal Justice Awards, which we run every year. We give away awards each year for people who are doing activism, for people who've done activism. We have, an award for somebody who's contributed to activism over their entire life. And I think so far we've given away $55,000. We're giving away another $27,000 this year. And again, there's no limit to how much money we want to grow that to. It's a small amount of the money that we have in the Animal Justice Foundation, but eventually we'd love to be giving away, a lot more money as well.
So the awards first happened in 2022, correct?
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's about 6 or 7 or 8 awards each year. They've changed a little bit each year in terms of who we give, like what the categories are. We've got a new sponsor for one of the awards on this year, so there'll be a new category. And we're just trying to support those people who've done good work, give money to people who are going to do even better work with a bit of money, recognise the contribution of people across the movement, because, it's hard work. It's difficult work. It's not very well recognised work, working for animals. The animals got no money. So as a movement, it's really important for us to recognise, the leaders and the workers who've made these contributions, and and have them go down in history, because they're an important part of what we're building to, animal liberation generally. So we call for nominations. I think they've closed for this year by the time this goes to air, but we'll have an online event to present the awards.
And that, of course, will be next year, 2025.
Yeah.
Yep.
The 2025 awards. The year after that, we'll probably hold the awards with the Animal Rights Forum again and do it in person. That's it's always a great night when we do it in person and we can see people in person.
Well, this year was so exciting to be able to see how many people were in the room. It was really cool.
It was a great night. And of course, we've got these beautiful handcrafted glass objects that are the awards, as well as the checks that we give to people. So hopefully it becomes one of the things that's supporting the movement to become stronger and stronger over time.
Yeah, it's such a powerful thing. Just the thought of getting all of our money together and building that kind of longevity for the movement, and then also celebrating the people in our movement every year through the Animal Justice Awards with grants and recognition. It's something that's been missing from the movement. Like, how nice is it to get everyone together and celebrate all of the amazing work that people are doing? But also, even if they don't win, like obviously not everyone can win, but it's so nice to see that list of, all of the individuals and organisations that have been nominated from such a vast, different expanse of ways people advocate for animals. It's just nice to, and I guess heartwarming to see what is happening in the movement and that positive side of it and celebration, because often, like you touched on earlier, in the animal rights movement, we are confronted every day with all of the atrocities that are still happening towards animals. So it's nice to have something positive and cheerful every year that we can look forward to.
But also the recognition for each person that's been nominated, each organisation that's been nominated. People might be sitting watching the awards and go, oh, hang on, I need to find out more about them. And they will go and they will follow them and they might support them and may start donating to them. So even if an organisation or person doesn't win or get awarded something, there is a kick-on effect of suddenly being noticed by the public.
Yeah. So, it arose out of looking at the movement as a kind of ecosystem and going, well, this is maybe missing from our movement at the moment. Let's do something about that. There are still things that are missing from our movement. It's powerful and it's growing, but there's always, more we can do. I'm, like you, I guess, I'm motivated by a kind of moral obligation to be involved in helping animals. They are very often in situations where they can't help themselves. And the Animal Justice Foundation is, I'm pleased to be involved with it.
Well, we thank you, Bruce, for everything you've done. You've been an inspiration for both Mackenzie and myself through our shorter time with AJP and AJF, but you have always been an inspiration and great help for us So we really appreciate who you are and what you do.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, you're a wealth of knowledge, Bruce.
Yeah, you know politics more than anybody on the planet, I think.
For someone who doesn't really like politics.
Yeah.
Don't have to like it. Just have to do it.
Yeah.
Was there anything else you wanted to touch on that we might have missed before we wrap up the episode?
No, but I see you've got a new entry in supporting the movement now with a podcast. So hopefully, good luck with that. Hopefully, it helps to inform and educate and bring the movement together and be even stronger.
Well, our idea is to basically find out what's happening now with people. So yes, everybody has a past and they've all come through and they all have their different vegan stories. But what we want to concentrate on is now, what's happening now, what are people going to be doing in the future? So we're trying to come at a slightly different angle.
And everyone has sort of their niche where they've honed in their skills on their way to advocate for animals. So we want to hear from those people who have very unique skill sets and get excited and nerd out about all the cool things people are doing.
Yeah, it's about time we nerd out.
Well.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
We appreciate your time here today, Bruce. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And we look forward to seeing you in our next meeting.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching the latest episode and listening in. And we look forward to talking with you next time.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the Vegan Compass podcast, unveiling truths, inspiring change.
Be sure to follow us on social media at @thevegancompass_podcast. See you next time.